It's the championship week, fantasy football, week 16. We have finally arrived, but the sad part about it is it's the end of fantasy football season. Yeah. Everybody's wives and girlfriends are now happy about that fact and stuff like that.
Right.
But what they don't know is it doesn't stop. Fantasy football never stops.
It never stops.
So, welcome to the Fantasy Football Wrap-Up. I'm your host, Blake Randall, along with my co-host, Jessy Gary.
That's it.
All right, so so basically we are at the end of fantasy football season. It is championship week. Can we just say that the bad guy, the villain, it rolls on again?
Yep. Leo let me down. Well, a lot of my team let me down. Well, no, a couple people let me down. Starting Josh Gordon was that smart, which I didn't have any other options. So, my tight ends let me down.
Ricky Seals-Jones.
Ricky Seals-Jones did nothing.
The law firm.
And I almost made a last-second transaction. I was going between Ben Watson and Eric Ebron. Of course, both of them scored touchdowns and have 12-point games. Whatever. It wouldn't have helped. I needed 23 from Julio, and I only got
'cause you were down
7 or 8.
22 even to me.
Yeah.
And then what made it more nervous for me is that Antonio Brown, which is hurting me right now, and probably millions of other owners, Antonio Brown's injury couldn't come at a worser time, fantasy-wise and NFL season-wise.
Right.
Too. I gotta give him a hat tip because fantasy football wise, he helped me get to where I am at now. But luckily enough, I got some lucky pickups according to some people. Blake Bortles being the number 2 quarterback over the last 4 weeks. So there's you gotta. That's the thing. We tried to say in previous episodes, you gotta look for these hot trends and players and stuff like that, and look for consistency. And it's hard to find it, and you never know if it's gonna dwindle down the next week. But sometimes you gotta take a chance and roll with it.
That just didn't make sense to me, just from a football standpoint, that they would go in and just try and crush the Texans. I knew they was gonna beat the Texans easily. I'm just not sure why Blake Bortles had 3 touchdowns and 300 yards.
He's trying to get that confidence back.
They should have just ran the ball and. They probably could do the same thing.
And what's crazy is about that game and a couple other games too. I'm looking here right now at the top wide receivers from last week. So your number 1 scoring receiver last week was Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, he had a big play.
Number 2, who I just picked up, is Keelan Cole, the Jaguars receiver that came in from basically took over Marquise Lee's volume.
Yeah.
He ended up with 186 yards and 1 touchdown. And also, I didn't find out yet. I found out yesterday and told you all that he's from here in Louisville. Went to Central High School.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Went to Kentucky Wesleyan University.
This kid.
Undrafted, signed free agent. Got a 3-year contract with him, just worth a little over $1 million.
That's nice.
That's pretty cool. And then, so there's a Giants receiver, Jaguars receiver, and then another Giants receiver now who's out for this coming week, Tavares King.
Yeah.
He had the 70 yards and the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The big play. And then number 4 was Tyreek Hill. It's crazy when you're looking at some of these numbers too. He had the big play too. It's what helped him get the points, for bonus points in our league and stuff like that.
Right.
So in other leagues, people's top receivers might look different in terms of points, but according to our league, so Tyreek Hill was number 4, the number 5, another Jaguars receiver that nobody has on their roster, Jaden Mickens.
I have no clue who that is.
Exactly, 61 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Hmm.
And then right after that was Mike Evans, who finally rebounded.
Came out. Jameis Winston, with Jay Howard out and Sean Watson out, he had nobody else to throw to, so fed the beast.
Mm-hmm. And then that's encouraging for 2018, in my opinion. They needed that, rebound like that. So, so let's. If you want to talk about jump into news, notes, injuries, let's hear it.
Ooh, we
haven't been on for a week.
Yeah, I know it. Kevin Benjamin's questionable with his knee injury still. Alan Hearns is questionable. Marquise Lee is out and, quote, for a while, so he says. So those Jaguars receivers, you are going to want to keep them in your lineup. Macklin's out. Aaron Rodgers is put back on IR after the loss to Carolina. Rex Burkhead is out. Antonio Brown is out. Devontae Adams is out. Carolina receivers Funchess and Shepard are questionable. The 2 Jets running backs, not named Blaupau, McGuire, and Forte are questionable. Shaheen, tight end for the Bears, he's questionable. He's probably on a lot of people's lineups. He's been hot lately. Sean Jackson's out. Cameron Brate's questionable. Austin Eckler has a broken hand. He's questionable. Zeke, the freak, is back. I held on to him, hoping he'd come back championship week, and I'll make it there. Fall a week short. So
he should have took that
still
suspension
excited.
a week earlier.
Since the Packers are out of it this year, and I'm pretty much out of fantasy football. I mean, I'm fighting for third, but so. I'm really
You're
interested.
fighting for pride at this point.
I'm really interested just to watch Kamara the rest of the way and to watch Zeke the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I think if they get into the playoffs,
you got
Cowboys
Kamara for playoffs.
Scary.
You got Kamara for playoffs. You got Zeke trying to help Dallas get into the playoffs, which is a tough NFC stretch right now, just because of how because that NFC South. You got Falcons and Carolina, and
they're all
Saints,
playing each other. All those teams are playing against divisional teams.
Yeah.
So if any of them lose twice,
Mm-hmm.
Dallas could sneak in. That's crazy. Hunter Henry got put on IR this week with stomach, so I'm thinking it's probably some kind of core injury. And then Greg DeLeg, the best fantasy kicker, number one fantasy kicker this year on IR. And
he still played through a game.
Talking about best fantasy kicker, I know one of the guys that's in our championship, the guy that you're playing this week, that's one of his best players. Most consistent. I mean,
him and Todd, he's rolling with Todd Gurley.
Yeah, between him and Gurley, jeez.
Yeah, the last few weeks, the Philadelphia game was just all touchdowns that game. But so here's the last. Let's see. Let me go starting from week 9 because week 8 was the bye for them.
Sure.
So week 9 against the Giants, 19 points. Week 10 against Houston, 20 points. Minnesota, that was the tough game. He only had 1 point that week. But then New Orleans the next week, 21. Arizona, week 13, 19 points. Philadelphia only had a touchdown, so PAT's 5 points. And then last week against Seattle, 12 points. The Rams use Greg DeLeg.
Yeah.
Because they know he can kick it from afar.
Right.
And now
the week I played Max, the dude put up 33 points.
Yeah.
He was a high-scoring player in our whole game.
Yeah, week 4, right there.
Dear Lord.
33.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the Rams rely on Greg DeLeg, and now they got a new kid,
right,
who was working as a real estate agent.
We'll see. It's interesting.
That's a big one too. What's crazy is he said he couldn't even sit down during the, like pregame meal and stuff like that. He had to stand up the whole time. So I mean, it's crazy that he still played through all that.
Right.
But I mean, that's big. That's a big crucial. People don't realize, sometimes kickers aren't that big of a deal. Certain kickers are a big deal. And Greg
when
DeLeg
you're a team that plays, especially teams, when I look at kickers, I always look at kickers who's either on a great offense, hot offense, or just a team that is very good at running the ball and playing good defense. And the Rams fall in that category. Those are the kickers you want because they're going to get points.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to be in good field position always, and they're always going to be pushing the ball down the field. Those are the kickers you need on your team.
Yeah. So, like me, I was trying to, ride out with Will Lutz, and he wouldn't perform in the last few weeks like he did earlier in the season. So, and I remember I mentioned to you before we were playing, I was thinking about picking up Robbie Gould. I picked him up, had him start, and then I changed my mind because I kind of looked into it some more, and something just made me stick with Lutz, and Robbie Gould ends up putting up like 29 points or something like that.
Did he?
He had a monster game. I don't expect that this week. A lot of people have been picking him up just because of the big games that he had, but they're playing Jacksonville this week, and Jacksonville allows the least amount of points to kickers.
Yeah.
So I don't see, people are riding the Garoppolo train too. I don't see Garoppolo doing much. I think this is the week Garoppolo slows down.
Oh yeah, they're playing
this
Jacksonville.
Week. And you're playing. People don't realize how you can't sleep on Jacksonville. So I think Jacksonville's offense is going to do enough to get a comfortable lead, and then they might swap out. That's the problem with playing this late in the season too. Week 16, 17. It's like with Nick Foles right now too. People are worried about picking him up. Even after he had the monster game last week. Yeah. But it all depends on what happens in what the coaches or sources have been saying that depends on what happens in the Green Bay Minnesota game. Like if Minnesota wins, then Foles is going to play through the Week 16 game because they're trying to keep home field advantage. That's what it is. But Minnesota's going to win now because, there's no Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, probably. And
they're playing in like 18, 15-degree weather, too. It's going to be a cold one. So that's another thing. People keep saying, start Case Keenum. I don't know about this weather. That's the thing that would, stray me away.
Yeah,
it's
Case
tough
Keenum
playing.
isn't known for his hand size and or arm strength. So.
And cold weather doesn't help out with any of that either.
No.
Especially when you're playing almost 15 degrees, 16 degrees below.
The winds will be blowing
freezing
in there, too. So I'm sure the winds will be probably 10, 12.
Yeah, we'll see the definition of the frozen tundra. So, All right, so let's go on and look ahead at Week 16. Game. We got 2 Saturday games going on tomorrow. And we're going to just roll through this quick.
Yeah.
First game, Baltimore Ravens versus the Indianapolis Colts. They're at Baltimore. Honestly, at this point, there is not one Colt I would really be interested in starting in.
Maybe Doyle, because the Ravens have been bad against tight ends. And
Doyle, I was about to say, like, when you're looking, like, Frank Gore would be like and just because his volume, Frank Gore, like, here's the thing.
If Gore got you here,
players,
starting.
You got to roll with volume players. If he's one of your top 3 running backs, Frank Gore is a guy that you're going to start. He's going to probably be a flex or RB2 for you. Jack Doyle, definitely a start for tight end. He gets the volume.
And that's where I thought.
Ravens have been,
personally,
recently over the last few weeks, they are been pretty bad against the tight ends and stuff like that.
Yeah, ever since
they've given up more receptions to tight ends over the last month, with that being 27 tight ends. Okay. Now on the Ravens side of the ball, people are talking about streaming Joe Flacco this week. But I feel like if you're in this championship game, I don't think you would have a quarterback that you would.
That's ballsy.
That's too ballsy for me. I'm not a fan of Joe Flacco for fantasy football at all. And I feel like if you're in this championship game, like, see, we're not trying to really, like, in my head, I'm not targeting people that are, like, not in the championship game. I'm targeting people that are in their championship game right now. And Joe Flacco, you're in this championship game for a reason.
There may be some people listening who are just trying not to be the last also.
True.
So those are the only 2 important games that's happening this week.
In our last place game, I don't think any of them set their lineup at all yet.
They don't care, yeah.
They don't care at this point because we don't do anything punishment-wise, really, like we want to. But
that's because nobody would do it.
I would do it. You already know that.
Oh, yeah, I would too.
We shaved our head in our very first season. We put our hair on the line.
Right.
I was wanting to bet Max last night in our championship game and say, let's do all or nothing for the pot, for the the money at the end. I was going to, let's winner take all. I was about to say that last night, and Max kind of like brushed it off. I was like, I want to throw some bets. Max just didn't want to talk about it because he was that mad because he wasn't playing you. All right, so, yeah, on the Ravens side of the ball, my definite start for the Ravens side is, one, their defense. That's the easy given.
Yeah.
Next, the other one is Alex Collins.
Yeah.
Mike Wallace is another potential start, too, as well, because his volume's been going up lately.
I think you could roll with him.
I think you could roll with him in the flex spot. That's if you're needing a wide receiver.
Maybe
like me, for example, like if you lost Antonio Brown, and you're needing a receiver to jump in there, like my team, I could have picked up Mike Wallace, but I mean, we'll see. I might regret not picking him up either, though. All right, so rolling on to the next game, Minnesota. It's the Saturday night game. Minnesota Vikings at Green Bay Packers. The cold game. No Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
I think Green Bay's already eliminated from the playoffs at this point, so that's another reason why they said let's put Rodgers back on the IR and not ruin his career the rest of the way.
Right.
On the Minnesota side of the ball, I feel like it's going to be a running back game. So Murray and McKinnon are starts for me. I think knowing Minnesota and just knowing how they're going to have to play, I feel like they're going to try to pass the ball for a bit. So I do feel like you can't not sit Thielen. Thielen's going to be a guy.
Start Thielen and Diggs and probably Rudolph.
I feel like everybody on that Vikings side, anybody worth fantasy, has fantasy value on the Vikings is a start this week.
Yeah, and our defense has been horrible. So
I picked up the Vikings defense once I heard. I picked up the Vikings defense once I heard that Aaron Rodgers was out.
Yeah.
So and you got me. I wanted to pick my Rams back up, and you snagged them away from me.
Should have started them.
All right. So Green Bay side of the ball, I don't think there's one player you can start on Green Bay that would worth a start. Like I know people are saying Jamal Williams, but I don't
know. Aaron Jones would look better to me.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't. You don't know who it's going to be.
Right. I mean, he got a larger role last week in the game. And,
maybe. Actually, Minnesota's not very strong against the slot receivers, so maybe Cobb.
Cobb is a flex player.
Because Adams ain't playing. Jordy's looking
Jordy's not
old
going to
and
do nothing.
slow.
Plus you got.
And that's not really Hundley's type. And Hundley's been favorable to Cobb, so maybe.
He's been favorable to anybody that's not named Jordy Nelson.
Yeah.
Basically.
So Cobb might be one.
So Cobb might actually be their top receiver with Adams out.
That's what I would
Jordy,
say.
I don't think is going to have little to.
Geronimo Allison will be our 3, but I'm not sure that he'll step in the Adams row, and he'll probably get Adams targets.
Yeah.
Just not sure that he's going to be the same type of.
Could be a sleep play.
Could be a sleep play.
Could be a sleep play. So Cobb,
if you need
Cobb
one of those guys, I hope you don't, but if you do, I would go Cobb.
Yeah, that's a very gutsy pickup. I feel like Green Bay's been going that committee approach now. They're going to roll with that. That's why I don't think Williams is going to be too big of a factor. Plus, Minnesota is like one of the best defenses against the run in general too.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think it's going to be an ugly game. just because of the weather. Like, people don't really factor that stuff in. You got to factor in the weather sometimes.
Usually the weather, bad weather, kind of almost limits, levels the playing field.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much you can do. So.
Right. Unless your name's LaShawn McCoy, where you can play the best in the snow. All right, so we're moving on to Sunday now. Detroit Lions at the Cincinnati Bengals.
We got Carolina and Tampa Bay. Saturday, 1 o'clock. Oh, that's Sunday.
No, that's Sunday. They play Sunday.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's only 2 games tomorrow. So, yeah, Detroit and Cincinnati. It's a 1 o'clock game.
Yep.
Matt Stafford, you start. You got to roll with Stafford.
Kirkpatrick and Burfict's back from their concussion.
Yeah, the defense is Cincinnati is healthy again.
Defense might be a little bit better, but Cincinnati's still Cincinnati. Marvin Lewis said he's leaving after the season.
I think the team's done giving up already once they heard Marvin Lewis say I'm done.
That's a big blow, mentally. To your team.
Teams trying to usually quit after that
but
stuff.
I don't know. These are grown men who do this for a living, so they could come out and they could come together and say, "Hey, let's go out
basically
here
play for next year too." Now at this point, when you're eliminated, so Stafford, I think, is the start. Stafford's a start for me.
Start Stafford.
I'm not key on Amir Abdullah and Theo Riddick this week.
No, me neither.
I do like the wide receivers, Tate and Jones.
If you had to pick one, I'd say Theo. But yeah, I like both receivers as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big game for Marvin Jones. It's a revenge game. I don't think he's played Cincinnati since he's left.
That's true.
Eric Ebron's a good streaming option this week.
I would start him. I've
regretted
it. Don't be like me
and
regret it. He's been basically 4 tight ends. He's been on fire the last 4 games.
Yeah. And Lions defense is a good start this week too.
I think so too. Yeah,
Cincinnati. Of course, the problem is you never know what Cincinnati team shows up. That's the thing. But on the Cincinnati side of the ball, and like we always say, and we do every week, you start your superstars, and that's AJ Green.
That's really about it.
Joe Mixon's back. He's returned to practice this week, so and he's clear concussion protocol. He should be taking that starting role again. Giovanni Bernard looked pretty good in his place.
That's a mess. Hopefully you don't have to start either one of those.
Yeah, I mean Detroit's been very bad against the running backs the last month or so, but
when they're up by 17, Cincinnati shouldn't be running the ball too much anyway. So
and Cincinnati's going to be down in this game, I think too.
Right.
All right, jumping on to the next game, Miami Dolphins at the Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Miami side of the ball, there's only I would say there's 2 guys that's worth any fantasy in this game. That's Kenyon Drake always, and Jarvis Landry.
Yep, I agree.
No one else in that team, defense-wise or offensive-wise, is worth a start, in my opinion.
I agree.
Just because they're the inconsistent volume with the other players. Yeah. The Drake and Landry, Jarvis Landry, by the way, has been the number 2 receiver in red zone touchdowns this year, too. I looked at that number earlier, and let's see, I couldn't tell you the amount, but I know he has 8 touchdowns on the year, though. By the way, but he's been the top. Like the second best red zone target in football this season. Moving over to the Kansas City side of the ball, there's only a handful of relevancy there. Alex Smith, I think you got to still roll with Alex Smith.
Yeah, against Miami,
no matter what.
You do. Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Smith has been. Chiefs have been.
They've turned it around.
They figured out their form and they turned it around.
Giving up play calling duty seems like it's working.
Yeah. I think they just give him a breath of fresh air and something new to do.
Yeah.
So Alex Smith start, Kareem Hunt start. He's finally back to where you want him, and he's playing good at the right time.
He's getting lots and lots and lots of value.
Yes, and I'm happy about that again.
Good things. Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, I would start him.
Start.
Travis Kelce, start. What do you think of the Chiefs' defense? They've been pretty bad this year. Would you, in this matchup against Miami, would you start them or sit them?
No, Jay Cutler's had a way of playing good against good defenses. Yeah. I mean, he kind of lit up the Patriots.
I wouldn't even say the Chiefs have been good because they've.
Yeah, it's at Kansas City, so I watched.
Here's the thing, though. They're good at home.
They're good.
And Jay Cutler is coming off a 3-interception game too.
I still don't think you can.
They're a coin flip for me. I feel like I wouldn't.
That's a tough one.
Me personally, they wouldn't have been on my team after like how they played most of the season.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next game, Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots. So we'll start with the Buffalo side of the ball. Tyrod Taylor, I think you can use him. He's a good stream option.
He's been streaming this week.
He's a good stream option.
He's been good. He's been good enough.
I think he does enough just because of his upside of being able to run the ball too. Yeah. Helps out a lot. LaShawn McCoy start.
Yeah, Shady should have.
And I think
Shady's gonna have a good day.
I think those are the only 2 you'd start on the Bills side of the ball.
Yeah, me too.
No one else should be consideration. Charles Clay you could think about, but
he hasn't done anything. He hasn't done enough for me to feel comfortable starting him.
Yeah. I mean, the volume's kind of there, but it's not like where it's consistent, or like how it was at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Bills defense, I would sit. They're not what they used to be at the beginning of the year. They were until they were good up until their bye week.
Yeah.
And then after that, they just haven't been the same.
Yeah.
Patriots side of the ball. So they got a lot of news update, a lot of news. So, there's no Rex Burkhead. Mike Gillislee is supposedly getting activated back to the roster. He's been a healthy scratch for most of the season now.
So
I still think it's going to be the Deion Lewis show. They have him as the goal line. Yeah, he might be the goal line guy. So a lot of people, I've seen a lot of quote bold predictions out there, and people saying that Gillislee gets his 2 touchdowns.
That's
this week.
You never know what Bellatrix is going to pick. It seems like when stuff like this happens, he is going to be like, okay, well,
pass it.
I think I'm going to give you 30 carries the next two games. And the Matt Gillislee blows up. It's just Belichick is ridiculous.
So
I start Deion Lewis with confidence. I don't know that I pick Gillislee up and start him.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of people. Here's the thing. People. I know we say start your superstars, but there's been a lot of question like this week with Tom Brady, how he's played the last 3 weeks. He's been very bad the last 3 weeks, averaging 263 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions.
I don't care. He's at home. You start Tom Brady when it's at home and it's cold. When his lips turn pink, it's over, baby. When they turn purple.
Yeah, when the lips turn purple. When the lips turn purple, you start Tom Brady.
Of course.
So basically, okay. So and I'm with you on that too. I was like, you can't sit Tom Brady. Tom Brady's
game.
won a lot of people fantasy football championships.
With the Steelers losing, this is a game. After beating the Steelers, this is a meaningful game. These are the games that Tom Brady show up in. Yeah. And I fully expect him to show up in this game.
And what's funny is for this, like for the Bills' sake, playoff wise, no matter what happens this week, it doesn't affect their playoff spot yet. Yeah. They're still considered in the playoffs, but they don't lock in the playoffs even if they win. So so Patriots real quick. So Tom Brady, you start.
Yes.
Deion Lewis, you start.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks is a flex start.
I start Cooks.
I think
because Tre'Davious White has been last matchup he covered Gronk in zone a whole lot, so he's their best cover guy. Yeah. So I expect the same thing out of him, even after the suspension and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So Cooks should. I start Cooks just because he's one of your superstars.
Yeah. Chris Hogan, you sit. I don't think he's gonna play.
Yeah, he hasn't been the same.
No. Danny Amendola, I think you're gonna sit. I think the ball runs through Gronk, Cooks, and Lewis offensively.
Yep. If you want to be a brave, ballsy, risk play, then I guess you can pick up Gillislee and row and see what happens. But that's your brave.
Me personally, I wouldn't recommend it just because But the thing is, like you said, you never.
If you have no backs,
if
you don't want to be the last place team, then maybe you just hope for,
If you somehow made it to the championship
Christmas
and you butchered your roster with these random running backs just because they became RB1s on their team. Go for it, because there's been a lot of people writing us that have butchered rosters and stuff like that. I still don't see how half of them made it to their championship. I'm going to find one of the tweets and stuff like that, too.
But I start those Patriots and at home this late in the season.
Let's see where we at. So so Patriots are fine. We'll move on to the next game. This is the one. This could be a trap game for the Bears. So it's Cleveland Browns versus Chicago Bears. Could the Bears or the Browns get their first win of the season against the Bears?
The Browns could.
But the Bears are good with their defense at home, and they are considered a stream option. So let's talk. I'm going to talk on the Browns side of the ball. Offensive relevancy. Deshaun Kaiser, sit. I don't think Deshaun. He's a turnover machine. So this will go tie into the Bears side of the ball in a minute. But
I'm mad at Josh Gordon, so I'm sitting him. Even though it's a pretty good matchup,
you got to punish them. I did that with Kareem Hunt for 2 weeks.
If you're in the playoffs and you have Josh Brown, you probably start him because he's a superstar and he's got a good matchup. But I'm punishing Josh Brown because he let me down last week. Josh Gordon.
Yeah, there's a lot of Joshes. All right, so Isaiah Quell, flex option. I mean, he's like a roller coaster. He has a good week, a bad week, a good week, a bad week. And right now, if he sticks with his pattern, this should be a good week for him in fantasy. Duke Johnson was the better running back last week. He got the touchdown last week. Corey Coleman, I'd sit. Josh Gordon, from a fantasy perspective, I'd say start him. I know you said you're going to punish him and sit him.
That's just me.
But that's just you. But honestly, I would start the guy.
Yeah, me too.
Browns tight ends.
He's your superstar.
Browns tight ends, you're going to sit. Browns defense, you're not even going to start. Moving to the Bears side of the ball, Mitch Trubisky, I wouldn't start him at all. I don't have. He hasn't done anything want me to consider. Even after the big game he had a few weeks ago, I wouldn't even want to pick him up. Jordan Howard, you're going to start because it's a superstar running back.
Yep.
Tariq Cohen, I would say he's if you're only got two good receivers, two good running backs, but you need someone in your flex spot, or if you're one of those teams that has like three wide receivers. Well, this is basically if you have a flex spot in your league. Tariq Cohen could be considered a decent option for a flex play.
Maybe. I'd still be scared of Josh or Jordan Howard's volume.
Yeah.
I would still.
And then Bears wide receivers, I don't think there's any I would want to start in this game. Cleveland's actually not bad against wide receivers.
Yeah.
And Bears defense is I think they're my top stream option this week. But every time I've picked up a defense that's been playing, or a defense that's played against the Browns the last few weeks, they haven't done that good.
I personally wouldn't, because.
But that's because Josh. That's how I think that's been factored into Josh Gordon.
And Cohen's been playing a little bit better, and so is their offensive weapons have been playing better. It's just Kaiser turning the ball over.
Yeah.
Crowell's been playing well. Duke Johnson's been playing well. Corey Coleman well. Joku's been playing good, actually. Mm-hmm. Josh Gordon's been doing as much as he can.
He's helping keep
of Kaiser.
Yeah, it's just helping keep pressure off other players as well too.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next game, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Carolina Panthers. So we're going to talk about this. Jameis Winston, I think he's a good stream option this week. If you're needing a quarterback, some people might have had him this whole year.
Thomas Davis still suspended from killing Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big hole in their defense, and they lose one of those backers. Their pass defense hasn't been
Winston
that great.
didn't look bad the last game again.
He looked pretty good.
He looked good.
I expect him to target Mike Evans a lot again.
Doug Martin,
that's going to be good things.
I'm going to sit Doug Martin.
Of course.
He's just been I don't know what's happened to that
Peyton
guy.
Barber
is a flex play for me.
He's probably going to get volume, and they're going to stay with the run.
Yeah, I think he had a fumble the last game is what hurt him points-wise a little bit, but Peyton Barber's been their top running back, and he's looked way better than Doug Martin. Yeah. Mike Evans starts. I think you start him. You start your superstar. Deshaun Jackson's out, so he's not relevant.
If Brate plays, I think you start Brate as well.
Brate should be playing.
He's questionable.
But especially with O.J. Howard out now, too, for the year.
Howard and Jackson out. It should be Brate.
Could be a great option if he's out there for you. Buccaneers defense set.
Yeah.
Carolina side of the ball.
I'm liking Carolina side of the ball in this matchup.
This is going to be I think this is everybody that's fantasy relevant.
Start Funchess.
Start Cam.
Start Olsen.
Yeah.
Start McCaffrey.
Jonathan Stewart's a flex play.
Probably, yeah.
And then Panthers defense start.
Yeah.
That's all right. We don't even need to go into detail on that one.
Yeah.
It's just like with Funchess though, real quick though, it's just keep track of his shoulder, throughout the next day too.
Rivera said he has no worries about him not being available for this game.
He missed practice most of the week, returned on Friday, track to play. He is the number one option there. Greg Olsen had a big week last week. McCaffrey had a great game last week as well too. Greg Olsen returned how Greg Olsen's supposed to play.
Right.
So, it's just I think this is going to be a game where Cam Newton just shares the love. It could be. I think
Cam
it's going to be one of those games.
Out this game.
I think he does too. He's going to win. Cam Newton will win teams their fantasy football championship.
Yeah.
All right, next game: Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints. Atlanta side of the ball. Matt Ryan. I'm not a fan of Matt Ryan this week
against the Saints.
Against the healthy Saints defense.
No, me neither. Because I think their game plan is going to be. They're going to get Julio involved, but I don't think he's going to be enough. Julio will be I think he'll be a good start. I just don't think Matt Ryan will be.
The thing is, I know Julio hasn't had a great year at all this year, in my opinion, but you have to start Julio.
Gosh, yeah. If he just makes a few plays here or there, he could be the number one receiver right now if he just makes a couple plays here or there.
So, Devontae Freeman, you start. Kevin Coleman's back from the concussion.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would start him. I think Freeman's just going to get more of the workload.
And they're running the
Freeman
ball
was
really
monster.
Well. And the Saints have not been a good team at stopping the run.
Mm-mm.
This is an underrated storyline.
Yeah.
We ran all over him. I know
Freeman,
when we played him.
Freeman could be that guy that wins teams their fantasy championship as well, too.
Yeah.
Tevin Coleman, I wouldn't start him.
I wouldn't run
Julio Jones, you're going to start. Mohamed Sanu, who I think is, I think if you have him, I think he's got, he's flex love for me. He's he could even be a wide receiver
gets so much attention.
it just depends how your team is. Like if you had Antonio Brown and you have another receiver and you need a receiver,
or you had Adams.
Sanu could be your guy. Devontae Adams, the same as way too. Austin Hooper, you're going to sit, and Falcons defense, you're going to sit. In my opinion.
Yep.
Saints side of the ball, Drew Brees. I think you start Drew Brees. I think
you can start Drew Brees knowing that, being confident that he's going to get you 20 points.
Yeah, I mean,
which is usually
Drew Brees.
If I get 20 from my quarterback, that's usually where I'm satisfied.
Yeah, Drew Brees is not. Yeah, that's the number that you want to get your quarterbacks is 20 points. Yeah. Drew Brees is not that 30-point guy anymore right now, especially when you got these two guys who are must starts, Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara.
And they're so involved in their passing game too. You never know when one of them could just break a screen or flat pass, or when they can send them up on a wheel. So those guys are so dynamic that you start Drew Brees just because he could throw touchdowns to them too.
Yeah, and the only other guy,
and
the only other guy on that offense that you consider starting is Michael Thomas, who's been a monster the last few weeks as well too. Ted Ginn, I'd sit, and Saints defense, I wouldn't play this week.
Yeah.
I just they're healthy and stuff, but I just don't think they're worth it.
Yeah, I wouldn't
next game, Broncos versus the Redskins. Broncos side of the ball, I don't. Brock Osweiler, he's going to be the starting quarterback. I would sit. I wouldn't even consider starting him. C.J. Anderson, I'd say flex play. I mean, it's hard to sit C.J. Anderson just because of the volume that he gets.
They've been pretty good against the run.
His touches have been good though. He the last 3 weeks. Here's his touch count: 19, 24, and 30. So I mean, that's what makes me consider you got to start him no matter what. Like last week, he had a great game. He rushed for 158 yards. Last week, but and then I don't know. I don't think there's anything other option. He's like a flex play for me at most.
CJ, and that's someone I would roll with. I don't trust DT. I don't trust the Hurt Sanders, or I definitely don't trust the quarterback, even though he balled out a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's just not pretty. I
like Denver's defense against
maybe
against the Redskins.
What helps is Trent Williams was put on.
He's on IR, right?
Too. So, I mean, it kind of helps. Broncos defense has been disappointing, though, this year. But the last few weeks, they've been getting better.
They've been much, much better.
All right,
Kirk Cousins has had some struggles here lately.
See that? Let's use that to roll into the Redskins side of the ball. Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't start.
No,
I think the Redskins have just done give up. Kirk Cousins does what he can, to get you points. Like last week, he had 19 points.
He's fighting. He's
fighting, but I just don't think
the line's not protecting well.
Help you. And there's too many injuries on that line. Honestly,
for him this year.
There's nobody on that offensive side of the ball that I would play. My J.P. Ryan was terrible. He's battling a groin injury, too.
I don't do Doxson.
And then people were talking about picking up that Capri Bibbs that used to play for the Broncos, and he had a touchdown last week, but I could have more of a bigger workload coming up. But I would
be possibly you got Vernon Davis. That's a good matchup for tight ends.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't, been
and then maybe you can work the slot guy.
Crowder.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, I'm just not a fan of the Redskins at all this week. Here's the game. I will be at this game. This is the Los Angeles Rams at the Tennessee Titans. I'll be there on Christmas Eve day. I'm excited. It's my first Rams game this season that I've been to, especially after on the high of last week's dominating win over the Seattle Seahawks, which was a beautiful, beautiful game. All right, so Rams side of the ball. Jared Goff. I think he's a low-end start. He's a good stream option, though, too. The problem is I have him and Bortles, and I think I'm rolling with Bortles just because of how good Bortles has been the last month. He's the number 2 quarterback the last month.
Right.
But Goff, I think, is a good start this week. Todd Gurley. You don't even have to question that one.
No, don't even talk about it.
Would you start? Would you start? Cooper
Watkins,
Kupp's a flex play. Watkins, I'm not starting.
Just because
I just think Watkins is there just to help the team out.
Yeah. Kupp's is probably a flex.
Kupp's a flex play. Robert Woods is a start. No tight ends. No tight ends on the Rams are relevant.
Start Rams defense.
Rams defense, you start.
Been balling.
Yeah,
lately.
And all right, now moving to the
Tennessee
Titans.
side.
Tennessee side of the ball. There's only There's only one guy that I would actually consider starting this week. That's Delaney Walker, because the Rams are actually pretty susceptible to tight ends. Even though we're quote known to be bad against the run defense, Seattle really didn't do nothing against us.
They've been struggling though. I think.
Yeah, but I don't think
if any back, it won't. I don't think it'll be Murray. I think it'll be
Henry. If anything,
and I don't see. I agree with Walker. I don't see anybody else.
There's no one. I wouldn't even start Rashad Matthews either.
No,
Walker is the only guy.
I'm kind of on the train from a fantasy perspective that who's their number 1 again? Big guy, rookie. That rookie was second-year player. Who's
Corey
their number
Davis?
one? Davis. I'm really hoping. I was a big fan of Corey Davis coming out of college. I'm hoping Malarkey gets fired and they bring in somebody who knows how to play offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
Because Malarkey's almost like a little Jeff Fisher.
He's old school still.
And I would love for them to get somebody to, be a better coach with Mariota.
I mean, I'm telling you, didn't they try Ken Wisenhunt or something like that? Wasn't he the coach there?
Yeah.
That didn't work
Ken's
out.
had some good seasons. He's
he's
led the Chargers down some bad roads too.
There's a lot of potential candidates coming up.
I like to see Malarkey fired because if they get a new coach in there who knows how to play some offense, Corey Davis could have.
They have all the weapons.
Be
on that. They have all the weapons they need.
Big time
on that
receiver
offense,
next year in fantasy.
They got depth at receiver. They got great running back group. They got a franchise quarterback. They got an old tight end, but
they got a franchise offensive line.
Yeah,
they got maybe
they got
best
everything you
tackle
want
tandem in the league.
They got everything you want in offense.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump on to the next game. Chargers at the Jets. I think every fantasy relevant player on the Chargers you start.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon.
Yep.
I don't know what the word is on Keenan Allen. Is he going to play? 'Cause he wrote out on a cart.
Was he carted off?
Yeah, he was carted off the last game. See, that's something I forgot to look up right there.
Couldn't finish that game. I had to watch Melvin Gordon from afar.
Yeah. I'm looking that up right now real quick. Just getting to Keenan Allen. Okay. Keenan Allen practiced in full for week 16.
It's all good.
Yeah, so he's doing fine. He'll play.
Good.
So Keenan Allen I would
KA,
start.
yeah.
He had the back injury is what got him. So Keenan Allen I would start.
Tyrell
deep plays,
Williams.
those are deep plays. I was about to say deep plays is Tyrell Williams and Travis Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
With Hunter Henry being out, I think it bumps them up more because I don't think, even though Antonio Gates is a stream option possibly.
I think Gates is more of a.
I think he's just a red zone guy.
Yeah.
Like if they get in that area,
play red zone
he'll be
and
like.
third
I think he'll be like third option in the red zone.
Yeah.
It's going to be Melvin Gordon, then Keenan Allen, and then Gates. I think that's the order of how they're going to, look at how
But
they're
he
going
can
to
get
look
you a
at people in the red
touchdown,
zone.
so don't sleep on it.
Yeah, he can get you 8 points.
Or
That's
he
all you
gets
need
you-
for
or
a
he
tight end
gets
this
you
year.
10-1 point.
Right. And Chargers defense, I would start against this Bryce Petty-led Jets.
Yeah, I would, even though they.
And at
disappointed
this point, with
week.
no McCown, which his train ride was a great one until the injury, there is not one single player I would consider starting on the Jets side of the ball.
I wouldn't start anyone.
Because that's how good McCown was to that offense. Robbie Anderson was actually fantasy relevant, and he would have been a start every week. All right, moving to the next game, Jacksonville Jaguars at the San Francisco 49ers. Blake Bortles, I would start.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard Fournette returns from his quad injury that he had.
He's your superstar.
He's your superstar running back, so you're going to start him.
Start him.
Now the receivers is Keelan Cole, who's going to be a top option.
Start.
He's been there. He's their deep threat.
Start.
You start him. D.D. Westbrook has been turning into something the last few weeks as well too.
Yeah.
Great athlete. Heisman candidate his last year in college as well too. So I would consider him as a flex play. Jaden Mickens, I wouldn't worry about him this week. He was the unnamed receiver that had 2 touchdowns last week. I don't think he's going to do much of anything this week.
Yeah.
And of course Jaguars defense you're going to start.
Yep.
All right, moving to the 49ers side of the ball. This is where people want to say it's a trap game for the Jaguars. I don't think that's the case. Jaguars defense is that good. They are the best defense in football right now. Jimmy Garoppolo's streak of good games comes to an end, in my opinion, right here. I would not consider starting Jimmy Garoppolo.
I think he's in single digits along with all the receivers and the running backs.
Carlos Hyde is probably the only one on that offense I would consider throwing in my lineup at all, just because, that's. What's funny is, though, his volume's gone down a little bit, too, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't even trust
He's
him.
a flex play for me. Marquise Goodwin's volume has gone up, and so has Garrett Selleck since Garoppolo's been the quarterback. But the thing is, I'm not going to start Goodwin just because of who's he playing against.
That defense is crazy.
Yeah, Jaguars are going to shut them down.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, moving on to the next game, Seattle Seahawks against the Dallas Cowboys.
This one's
this is a very intriguing game because this is for playoff. They're fighting both are fighting for the playoffs.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the Seahawks.
So you're going to get a battle out of both teams.
Yeah. Russell Wilson. He had a bad game last week against the Rams.
Wilson.
You start him though.
I still have flashback of when Phillip Rivers played the Cowboys a few weeks back and just dissected them for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, don't let last week's game
yards.
against the Rams sway you because Russell Wilson always has a bad game, plays bad against the Rams.
Yeah, I think
Mike Davis, the running back, I wouldn't consider him at all. I mean, he's probably like a deep. If you're in a deeper league, he's probably in your lineup. Doug Baldwin, start him.
Mike flexing, Baldwin's a start. Yeah.
Paul Richardson's a flex for me. Tyler Lockett's a sit. Jimmy Graham, you're going to start, even though he's had a bad couple of weeks the last 2 weeks. You're going to start him because it's Jimmy Graham. He's a superstar tight end.
Yeah.
Seahawks defense, I would sit.
Me too.
Just because they're injury prone and there's nothing about them that would make me want to play them. Cowboys side of the ball, there's only 3 players I would consider throwing in the lineup this way. Zeke the Freak is back. So yes, definitely Zeke. Ride the Zeke train.
I wish
if
I was
you made
in
it to your championship game with Zeke on your bench,
I was.
Zeke,
I would feel so comfortable with Zeke.
I know deep
Kamara,
down you wish
Melvin
Zeke would have
Gordon.
took that suspension 1 week prior.
Oh yeah. I wish he would. I wish he would have took it 2 or 3 weeks prior. I wouldn't care.
I think he was suspended the first time we played when he put up the 50 points against the 49ers, and then he got suspended right after that. I think.
Yeah, he could have took that week off. That'd been fine with me.
Yeah. So, because it doesn't matter how you start or how you play during the season, as long as you make the playoffs. But then you want to get to this point where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And for me, it's been 6 years.
It's
been 6 years, 6 seasons since I've been back. And what's crazy is when I was looking, we'll talk about this afterwards.
I was reflecting. I'll go ahead and say something about Z. I was reflecting on my draft strategies. I don't usually pick. If I pick a suspended player, I usually do it because if they're a really good player and they're, maybe 4 weeks in, because I feel like I can get myself through 4 weeks and it'll be worth it to get that player. Like I did this year with Doug Martin.
It's just as appealing.
And I did it with Zeke too. Yeah, those I didn't foresee him appealing as hard as he was going to and have it go that far. So looking back, for future reference,
be cautious.
I think if I was
more of a cautious thing.
Yeah,
I would say don't second guess it. I would just say just be cautious.
If you have anything, domestic abuse, sexual harassment, anything like that, as the NFL is really trying to shut down on right now, don't draft that player if they're wrapped up in something like that.
All right, so let's get through this. We're almost done.
Yeah.
All right, so Cowboys side of the ball, there's 3 guys I would consider starting: Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, and Dez Bryant.
Yep.
You're gonna start Jason Witten. I wouldn't start, and Cowboys defense I wouldn't start. All right. I think you agree with me on those.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next game, Giants Cardinals. This is a very weird game now at this point. Even though Eli was balled out last week, he was the number 1 quarterback last week. But I would you start Eli Manning?
Nope. Not against Arizona.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't think even after that game, Eli Manning's such a roller coaster of a player right now with all these injuries.
Their number 2 guy got hurt.
Yeah,
Lewis King. And Shepard's going to be welcome to Peterson, Allen.
Yeah,
he might do a little bit against Peterson.
They're going to try to keep him in the slot, and Peterson usually kind of stays in the spot. But I've been hearing that Peterson's going to play the follow game.
I think
shadow.
He likes to follow.
Yeah, so
Ingram has some upside, but then again,
basically
got to deal with
Shepard
Honey Badger.
and Ingram are the only guys on that offense I would consider starting.
Yeah,
playing in my lineups.
It's been an underrated defense. So
yeah, Drew Stanton's the quarterback again after the Blaine Gabbert experiment came to an end. That's over with. But I would sit Drew Stanton.
Yeah.
Kerwin Williams, you're going to keep watch on his injury right now.
Mm-hmm. He's questionable, but he's expected to play. I would start him.
If he plays, start him.
Right.
Just because of volume.
Huge.
I wouldn't pick up the other running backs.
No.
Or Penny, and there's one other guy I can't remember. But
I roll with Fitzgerald and him, and that's it.
Yeah, and then Cardinals defense could be a stream option this week as well too.
Could be
if you really need one. They wouldn't be a top option.
Oh no, I had the Eagles defense last week and they let me down. Eli Manning just carved them up.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Now we're moving on to Christmas Day. There's 2 games left. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Houston Texans. If there was barring any injuries, this game would have been a great game if nobody got injured for either of these teams. But you got to make do with what happened.
God, oh yeah, it would be with
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, this would be lovely.
It would be a great game. This would be. I think this is what Christmas Day meant to be, was the non-injury game. Okay, so we got to talk with what
Watson
they got right now.
Get hurt.
Steelers side of the ball. Big Ben.
Yep.
Start him. Le'Veon Bell. Start him. With Antonio Brown out, for me, in my opinion, I think this boosts up Juju Smith-Schuster.
Actually, I think it boosts them all up a little bit, but I think it's going to be more of Bryant. I like
Bryant's going to be
Bryant's a dog. Like, Bryant is a NFL football player. He is the way his attitude and the way he goes about is how I feel like the league you should play if you're in the league, because you got to want yours and get yours and think that you're the best at all points in time.
And he's good.
And with AB out, he gets that chance, bar none.
Yeah, and plus it helps though having Juju Smith-Schuster on the other side.
Yeah, and he's not all the target. And he was balling
both guys
out
have a great
last
game.
week.
I think both guys have a great game because this Texans defense with their secondary, with all the injuries and stuff, is terrible.
He was
Especially after
making
last week with the Jaguars playing how they played against them with no-name receivers, basically. These two should have a better game.
Yeah. I mean, Bryant was making those sideline diving catches.
Yeah.
I mean, with him and Juju's going to eat.
Yeah, with Brown out, I think these two guys, basically this whole Steelers offense can help you win a fantasy football championship easily. Yeah. Steelers defense, I wouldn't start. They just haven't really been all that there, especially with the injury of Shazier.
And
it's a big impact on
their pass and run defense has been leaky.
Yes.
So I fully expect DeAndre Hopkins to have a very good day.
That's the only guy on that. I was about to say that's the only guy on the Texans I would consider starting.
Yeah.
No T.J. Yates. I wouldn't. I don't like Lamar Miller. Like the thing is, it's hard to sit. Want to sit like
with Shazier out? You can think about Thompson, the tight end. I feel like he might have some good appeal.
Or Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steven Anderson. Lamar Miller is like a flip of the coin for me, but I'm not.
Yeah, this Steelers defense can become.
Yeah,
smothering.
I just don't. I think this is going to be like a Hopkins game because I think the Texans will be playing from behind. And this is where it just becomes the DeAndre Hopkins show.
Yeah.
Fuller is just not relevant anymore, unfortunately. And Texas defense and Anderson, I would sit.
I think Fuller actually could be a flex. He's been getting targets. He just needs to get those catches down.
Yeah.
And he could do it against this defense, I think.
Maybe. Well, but me personally, I wouldn't play him, though, just because of...
I would flex him.
And the last game of the Fantasy Football 2016 season, if you play like a normal Fantasy Football league that doesn't go into Week 17, which is dumb, the Oakland Raiders at the Philadelphia Eagles, your Monday Night Football game. Mm-hmm. A lot of people might be hanging on by a thread of this game, playing. So, Derek Carr, I would sit him.
I'm saying
I
starting.
Feel like here's the thing. He might he might be some team's number one quarterback right now, but I feel like he could have been replaced because then he was, just how he's been playing
if
he's the
only guy you got and you're looking at the waiver wire and you see there's no one there.
There's probably Garoppolo's probably sitting there, and that's probably about it.
I think you can start Carr with enough. I think he'll get you 20 points this week.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a shootout. This could be a shootout if they want it to be. Mark Cooper's back in line to play.
Yeah.
But
so they'll be at
think he's
full strength.
A lot of people want to say sit for Cooper. I think he's a flex play just because, he might be that option for you, and he could be your saving grace to win you a fantasy football championship, or he could be the reason you lose.
But I don't know. Eagles' defense has been great against teams that are not in their division. So when they're playing teams, especially struggling offenses, which the Raiders have been up and down, they've been kind of climbing out of a funk. The Eagles have just completely decimated them.
Yeah.
Are the Eagles at home in this matchup?
Yes, the Eagles are the home team.
I'm gonna change it and say
Christmas in Philly.
I'm gonna say sit
for Carr.
I'm gonna change it.
That's why I'm saying I'm not a fan of Carr.
He's at home. That defense plays great at home, and they've been
prime time.
And it's in prime time, and Derek Carr's been struggling.
Yeah. So Marshawn Lynch, I think you can play him. Flex play at most for me. Crabtree, you're going to play. He's been the top receiver on that team. Jared Cook could be a stream option in that offense. I'm just not as.
I think he could be the most productive.
He's
been on a funk too. So.
Yeah, he's on a bad funk, and he's just. I mean, it's just hard. This has been a bad year for tight ends. A very, very bad year for tight ends.
I'm cautious. I'm just going to say I'm cautious on all Raiders, and then just move.
Yeah, Crabtree's the only one he would be in my lineup just because
they're also risk reward.
You drafted Crabtree as one of your top two receivers on your team. Same with Cooper. But Cooper is you probably replace Cooper. I think people would replace Cooper. I think Cooper would be. He's more on the bench for me. All right, Eagles side of the ball. Nick Foles.
Start.
I think you start Nick Foles after last week. I wouldn't worry about the chance of him sitting and Nate Sudfeld coming in. I don't think that's the case this week. Next week it might be. Eagles running backs. It's such a committee there, but Jay Ajayi is the clear-cut top back.
Starting.
You do start him. LeGarrette Blount just can't get in there at all, so I don't know why he shouldn't be on your team.
No.
At all at that point. Corey Clement he's been losing target touches as well too. Yeah. So this is basically the Jay Ajayi show at this point now, and you should know that.
Start Ertz.
Yeah, start Ertz, start Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, Jeffrey's been ripping.
I think Nelson Aguilar is a good start, and the Eagles defense.
I agree. And the kicker.
Yeah, Jake Elliott is a great start.
Raiders are.
We don't really talk about kickers that much at all.
But the Raiders are the worst team in the league against kickers.
They're just the worst at everything defensively this year, which is crazy because they were a lot better last. They were middle of the road last year.
They're middle of the road, yeah. But Khalil Mack made some plays for him last year. He's just not making them this year. They're not even in contention for him to make a play to win the game. That's probably why.
No. All right, so that's the end of Week 16.
Yeah.
It's been a fun fantasy football season to say the least. There's been a lot of surprising players come up out of nowhere, especially I would say Alex Collins.
It's been fun.
Alex Collins has been one of those surprising players.
Picking up Kamara was a lot of fun.
Kamara was.
And those few weeks where I had Watson and Hopkins on our team together.
And Kamara.
That was
Melvin
a lot of fun to watch. Yeah.
And Zeke.
That
was a nasty lineup.
That was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun in the middle of the season when I had all those guys.
And then it's. I don't know. We'll go more in depth,
yeah.
In our next few episodes. So what I'm going to talk about is for our next future episodes, with basically this being the end of fantasy.
Yeah, stay with
us. We're going to continue on. We'll probably record a little less than we normally do. I know we just had a lot of Christmas stuff happen right now for us and work and whatnot, so it's been hard to record as consistently as we want to.
Right.
But some future episodes that we have coming up ahead, we want to do our Fantasy Football Wrap-Up 2017 Awards Show.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you visualize a red carpet. Me and Jesse dressed up in our black and white tuxedo outfits. We are presenting our awards. We'll present your generic awards like MVP, comeback player of the year, such player, like wide receiver of the year, this and that.
Sure.
And we'll make up our own awards too, just to make it a little interesting and stuff like that. So we'll have that coming up probably after the actual NFL season's over with.
Yeah.
The one I'm looking forward to right now though is also we're gonna do the redraft.
The redraft. That's gonna be fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
We might have a couple extra guests with us.
Yeah, we'll get as many people as we can get in here that we play. A lot of our league mates.
I see us having maybe 5 people with us because I did mention something to Chris about this earlier.
Yeah.
Told him to come on by, but he had plans already.
Yeah.
This evening. What's crazy is for our fantasy football league, there's only been three people that's only been a champion in our league. That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So, real quick.
Me, you, and Chris.
Before we end the episode. So, me, you, and Chris are the only ones to win our league championship.
Yeah.
You winning 4 times, Chris and I winning the other once each. But what's also is that that's for championship game representation. It's always been how they talk about how it's it was like the last few years it was the Patriots, Steelers, and Broncos in the Super Bowl and stuff. That's been our case too. You were
just
there.
Being in the Super Bowl, yeah.
In our championship game, it's been either you, me, or Chris always there.
Stevie was in once, and Cody was in once.
Chris has been in there twice. Chris is but I'm talking about on our side of the ball though, in terms of consistency. It's mostly obviously you.
Yeah, it's us. Yeah,
you've been in there. You've been in there 5 times.
Yeah, and 1 4.
And then Chris has been in there twice, and I've been in there twice. So I'm looking to get number 2 for me and be undefeated in fantasy football championship in our league, and actually not have according to some other people, an asterisk next to the very first year we played, which was our all-star year of just 4 teams playing. But I'm looking forward to I got what I wanted out of this whole entire season, and I said that too. I beat my arch nemesis Derek 3 times.
3 times, good Lord.
I got my revenge to beat you when it mattered. Yeah. And then I'm playing Max, who was the other best team, which I mentioned to him too, based on our teams and projections, we were going to end up in the championship, and that became the case. What's crazy is I'm going to throw this out there too. With all the games that are playing, because all the teams are still playing for seat placing and stuff like that. So Max and I are number 1 and 2. In your game, you and Stevie are 5 and 6. In the other Chris's game, it's him and Sean, which are 3 and 4. And then in the Cody and Derek are playing each other, which are 7 and 8. Mm-hmm. And then you got 9 and 10. So basically all the teams that are one apart from each other are playing each other this week in our league too. So, and then, it's hopefully, next year we'll see what it takes us. We already talked about how we're going to 6 teams next year, which I think that'll make it a little bit more better and challenging.
A little bit more pressure.
A little more pressure too.
Yeah, be interesting.
And it's crazy is, even though I'm in the number 1 team and in the championship, I just looked at it the other day. Transaction count. I was a top transaction guy, but I did a lot of stream options throughout the whole season, kickers and defense. Yeah. I never stuck with I stuck with the Rams, and I should have kept the Rams on my roster, but was flip flopping back and forth, and I had Jacksonville's defense at one point. Might I add?
So did I.
Isn't that crazy?
Week 2, they
I had
put
them,
week 2 they put up 1 point.
With 1 point, and you dropped them.
And I said they're fake.
Yeah, and
they're
then I
fake.
think I picked them up like right after that, and they put up good points. And then I was like, I don't know if they'll do it again.
You
and
streamed them out, and your dad picked them up and kept them.
And
And
it
they
didn't help them out.
Destroyed everyone.
All right, so so future fantasy for future fantasy football wrap up episodes that we have planned. I'm sure we'll have some more, but these are the top 3 that we have planned coming up. Fantasy football wrap up 2017 awards, and then the redraft of 2017, which will basically we'll kind of do it how we want to draft and base it off player stats as well too, and then ranking 2018, which will be probably a little bit one more down the road, and then we'll start talking about rookies and acting like we're NFL scouts and analysts and all that stuff too.
Yeah, we love it.
All right, that's the end of the fantasy football wrap up, week 16. Best of luck in your championship games, and we'll be hearing
Good luck,
you'll be
folks.
hearing back from us on Tuesday or sometime next week. Best of luck and Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.